Shalina Begum, and I'm the president of the Tafida Foundation. And we are here today to call on the government to bring changes to the way children are dealt with in critical care.
And to say, welcome here.
I don't want you to put the bags or anything. Can you? I don't want the bags to come out. Don't promote this.
Today has allowed us to use this magnificent room. It is completely at the speaker's discretion, and he very generously said that we could hold the reception here. And really, as you know, this is about the Tafida Raqeeb Foundation and the background to it. So we're going to have a couple of presentations really to understand the background to it. For me, it's been an enormous privilege actually to work with Tafida's mum, who is here, and you will hear from her, from Shalina, with her story. And there are also leaflets on the table, and I would urge you to take one, which really outlines her story and what's been happening and the whole background. But I'm going to hand over briefly to Dr. Baroness Finlay now, and then we'll move on from there. Perrine, thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my privilege and my honor to welcome all of you on behalf of the Tafida Raqeeb Foundation. I would like to say a very big thank you to Professor Baroness Finlay for hosting this event, for all of us to be together. This cause is not just for the meeting here. This is a cause where we want to help the society and how we can bring this issue to the wider world. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Professor Dr. Baroness Finlay, and I am the CEO and Director of London Organization of Skills Development. Our main aim is to help the society and support them, inspire them, and empower them in the skills, but in the events like this, we want to support and be the guide and be the advocate in the field of education, women empowerment, and youth development, and the critical problems what we are facing in the world. I would also like to say that this is the things what we are right now. We all have gathered here. I wanted to say one big thank you to Shailina for inviting me here and to be part of this event. Today's discussion will be focused on the critical and a sensitive topic, the care of children in hospitals and the many challenges that are faced by the families and the health provider. So this is not just a matter of a medical concern, but one that touches the very heart of our society, raising the significant legal and the emotional consideration. As we navigate through today's agenda, we will hear from the prominent voice who are working tirelessly to improve pediatric care and ensure that the children, particularly those with the complex and the severe health needs, receive the right attention and the right services what they deserve. So Tafida Raqeeb Foundation is www.tr-foundation.org. I would like you to be part of this event that was born from the remarkable journey of a beautiful young girl. Tafida Raqeeb, who was just at the age of 5, she suffered a devastating brain injury. Her family was forced into the legal battle to save her life, and the battle that revealed the limitation of current healthcare system in the respecting the voices of the parent in the critical care. Since its inception of the children who are receiving the private rehabilitation, providing a lifeline to families when public services were unavailable to meet their needs. So the foundation has also conducted extensive medical camps for the mission to develop the world, bringing the critical health care to the children in the region where access was just limited. The foundation has garnered recognition across Europe and many parts of the world. In fact, the Tafida story of resilience and the foundation efforts were honored in the Senate in Rome, Italy, where Tafida was awarded for the bravery. This recognition underscores the foundation impact and the importance of its mission in safeguarding the rights of critically ill children and the families. So your presence today is a powerful testament to the strength of the work what Tafida Raqeeb Foundation are doing. We know how precious your time, and we know it means a lot to them as well, and what the work you all are doing here. Now, I would like to say that today we are not just here to share and mingle. Yes, we are having a good networking, connecting with the people, but remember the main important thing what Tafida Raqeeb Foundation is just working. Some of the people who are working behind the screen, but I would like to say there is a main person who is managing director, Mr. Zakir Chaudhary, is not only the leader but a visionary. His tireless voluntary work, compassionate spirit and unwavering commitment have steered the Tafida Foundation, and he is the foundation is supported by the passionate and the selfless team by trustees, advisors and the volunteers, and I'm one of the advisors of the Tafida Raqeeb Foundation too. We all contribute to our work, and the work often which is unseen by the members who are doing the work behind the screen. Their commitment is powerful reminder of what can be achieved when we come together for a common cause. Please join me and give them a round of a big applause to Tafida Raqeeb Foundation for being a role model for the society and extraordinary work they're doing. Thank you. I would like to invite Shelina Begum to come and give her this, share her journey and help us out and oh, I've forgotten there was a video to play. And there was something else which I have not even said, but let's play the video and then I'll say my rest. I was trying to cut down the speech.
We are a children's charity, and our objective is to support children who have sustained brain injury. Every year in the UK, over 300,000 children suffer from brain injury, and the sole specialist neurological hospital in the UK has limited beds. The Tafida Raqeeb Foundation has been established to give hope to all these children, to give them a chance of life and recovery where they presently have none. But first, what happened to Tafida Raqeeb? Tafida Raqeeb was a healthy 4-year-old girl who in the early hours of one February morning 2019 woke complaining of an headache. The minute she collapsed and needed to be rushed to hospital. She was found to have an arteriovenous malformation, a complex abnormal tangle of blood vessels in which an artery bypassed the capillary bed and connected directly to a vein, causing the arteries and veins to dilate and eventually to rupture. 3 different hospitals battled to save Tafida's life. Despite a barrage of negative prognosis, she constantly demonstrated the will to live, and she continued to fight until, in June 2019, her clinicians predicted that she would die within a few weeks at most. While the hospital wanted to withdraw her life-saving treatment and place her on a palliative care pathway, the family wanted to transfer Tafida's care to Italy since there was no UK hospital willing or able to treat her. Legal proceedings were commenced, and her parents' plea reached millions around the world. Thankfully, Tafida was given the right to leave by the High Court, and she was transferred to the Gaslini Hospital in Italy, where she has continued to make progress and has defied all the pessimistic expectations of the NHS specialists. With your assistance, the Foundation aims to set up a pediatric neurological rehabilitation center, which will offer a chance for life and recovery to all those neurologically injured children whom medical science in the UK has abandoned. It will bring together new treatments and rehabilitation facilities which are available in other countries, but none which are presently available in the UK. By bringing together under one roof the most exciting cutting-edge therapies from around the world, the Foundation aims to develop in the UK the most advanced pediatric neurological rehabilitation center anywhere in the world.
Please be a voice for us, as the injury takes all of our functions away and we become dependent on family and the clinician's voice. I might not be normal as before, but I am alive and I want to live. My family sacrificed their lives to give children like us a chance. Please come forward and support the Tafida Raqeeb Foundation and bring real hope to all of us as we want to live. Please help raise £25 millions for us.
What are you going to say?
Thank you.
I wanted to share a few other things which is very important. Yeah, before the Shailina goes, I wanted to share that there are key messages which I want to say the children in critical care, because we all are here gathered not just for just coming here, but this is the important thing, that the children in critical care, when the child is critically ill, the emotional and the psychological toll on the family is profound. You saw that, how it affects. Parents who know their children better than anyone else may have to stay in the decision regarding their care. However, it is too many cases parents are sidelined or excluded. Their wishes overruled, leaving them in feeling they are left out of the medical professionals. It is essential to recognize that parents are not just caregiver, they are advocates of their children in the best interest. Their voice must be included and respected in the decision-making process, not only for the sake of child, but for the integrity of the family unity. Number 2, this is important for us to know, that a care for a change in law. Today, Tafida Raqeeb Foundation is calling for a critical change, and you saw the beautiful young girl giving us a sweet message. That message we need to urge the House to consider the reforms that ensure parents have a legally enshrined role in the care of the critically ill children. No family should have endured the trauma of the courtroom, battle to assert their right to be heard. We believe that medical decisions should not be battleground between doctors and parents, but a collaboration. This can only be happening if the law is the clear that parents have recognized and respected the voice in the child's care. And the other one, the third one, which is very important too, a further call for research and rehabilitation facilities. So in addition, we call on the government to invest in more research into critical care and pediatric rehabilitation. At present, there is only one rehabilitation center for children in the entire country located in Surrey. This is, wow, that is not it's not inadequate to have all these people in just one place. So Tafida Raqeeb Foundation envisions a future where more specialized rehabilitation centers are established across the UK, ensuring every child has access to the care they need, no matter where they live, no matter where they come, caste, doesn't matter, but they have to be given that nourishing. The absence of these facilities leave too many children without the support they require and for the recovery. We implore the government has to give a priority for funding for the expansion of rehabilitation services to give children the best possible chance of regaining their health and quality of life. In conclusion, the Tafida Raqeeb Foundation stands a beacon of hope for families in the darkest hours. We can call upon the houses and the government to support legal reforms that places parent at the heart of the child's critical care decision, to invest in the essential research and to expand rehabilitation services across the country. Let's work together and to ensure that the children are being taken care. Parents are heard, children are cared for, and that no family is left to fight alone. Thank you for being here to contribute to this crucial conversation, and I look forward to the insight that will emerge today's discussion as we work collectively together and towards the meaningful change. Now, without further ado, let's begin how we can help others. So I'm going to be requesting Shailina Begum, President of the Tafida Raqeeb Foundation, to come and share her journey as a mother and a lawyer in both inspiring and deeply moving towards the law and helping the society. Her tireless effort has given the work what we can see right now. And remember, her tireless efforts to inspiring, deeply moving towards in the society, how this is just one example we are looking in her family, but there are many children and many people around the society are suffering in this situation. So her tireless efforts to highlight the lack of pediatric neurorehabilitation facilitation in the United Kingdom have shed a light on a significant gap in our healthcare. Her vision for better care for children with severe brain injuries underscores the need for the compassionate approach that listens to the voices of family. Please join me in welcoming Shailina Begum to share her story and her work with us.
My Lord, ladies and esteemed guests, I stand before you today not only as a mother, but as the voice of countless parents across this country who, like me, have been thrust into a battle never expected. In February 2019, my daughter Tafida was a healthy, vibrant 4-year-old full of life and joy, but in the blink of an eye, our world shattered when she suffered from a devastating brain injury. She was left fighting for her life. And from there onwards began our tormenting journey. In June 2019, I was told something no parent ever wants to hear, that my daughter Tafida had only 2 weeks to live. The doctors were firm in their prognosis, they insisted that within a fortnight, she would be gone. And they urged me to give my consent, to agree to the plan. The weight of those words were unimaginable. They had written to the courts justifying their stance, stating with certainty that my daughter's life would end in a matter of days. We are fast approaching the 6-year mark. My daughter is still here, proving every single prediction wrong. It is staggering to think about the contrast between what was foretold and where we are today. This isn't just a story about one child. It is a reflection of how wrong even the most certain medical opinions can be. It highlights the kind of false information that, if accepted without challenge, could have ended Tafida's life. Another significant issue is how the medical community in the UK can sometimes operate. Once one doctor gives a prognosis, many others rally around it. It becomes the accepted truth, and no one steps forward to question it. There's a reluctance to go against a colleague's decision, even when lives are at stake. In our case, it was foreign experts who stepped in, offering a different perspective. And had they not done so, I believe Tafida would not be with us today. My message is clear to everyone, to the government, to the medical professionals. Do not blindly follow your colleagues. Medicine is not an exact science, and human lives depend on more than just adhering to the decision of others. Be courageous, be independent, question when needed. Don't make the same mistakes again and again. Lives like Tafida's hang in the balance. Doctors in the UK gave Tafida no hope, advising us to let her go. But as her mother, I could not accept that my child's life was over. My family and I fought, not just for her life, but for the right to continue her care elsewhere, eventually succeeding in transferring her to Italy. There she has been making slow but significant progress. For the last 5 years, I have sacrificed everything, my career, my home in England, moments with my family, to stay by her side around the clock. I want to bring to your attention another pressing issue within our children's services, particularly concerning the role of CAFCAS, the Children and Family Court Advisory Support Services. In court proceedings involving children, CAFCAS, as many doctors here and barristers here will know that, CAFCAS, as you know, is appointed by the court to represent the best interests of a child. However, there is growing concern that in cases involving medical disputes, particularly where hospitals are involved, CAFCAS often ends up serving as another voice for the clinicians rather than a neutral party. This creates a situation where the parents who are fighting for the well-being of the child are significantly disadvantaged. They only have their voice while the hospital has two, their own as well as the CAFCAS. This imbalance raises serious questions about fairness in these proceedings. Instead of acting as a truly independent representative for the child, CAFCAS often seems to align itself with the views of doctors and hospital authorities. While clinicians' expertise is crucial, we must remember that parents know the child first. And yet the parents are left to fight this battle alone with a system that feels stuck against them. This is a serious issue that demands the government's attention. We need to reassess the policies governing CAFCAS' role in medical cases to ensure true impartiality. The government must review whether CAFCAS is truly acting in the child's best interest, or if it is simply reinforcing the views of hospitals, leaving parents without a meaningful voice in critical decisions about the child's care. Beyond this, I want to touch briefly on another related issue. It's important to note that there is a severe shortage of rehabilitation services and palliative care for children in the UK. Hospices for children are almost non-existent across the country, leaving many families without the support they desperately need. I know this isn't the main topic of today's discussion, but it's another aspect of children's services that requires urgent attention. The bottom line is this: parents should never be marginalized in decisions about their own child, especially in life-altering medical cases. And the system that is supposed to support children and families should not, in practice, become yet another barrier they have to overcome. It's time we take a hard look at how Kafka is functioning in these cases and make the necessary changes to ensure a fair and just process for all involved. I still hear from so many parents whose children remain in the UK without access to the care and rehabilitation they desperately need. Why is it that in the UK, when a child sustains a severe brain injury, systems is to give up on them? Why is it that families are forced to seek treatment abroad? Because the medical interventions available here are simply insufficient. The heartbreak of these parents is amplified by the feeling that their voices are unheard, the pleas ignored by the very system that should protect the children. Approximately 6,000 children in the UK suffer serious brain injuries each year, yet there is a severe lack of adequate neurological rehabilitation service across the country. Many children are denied the chance to reach their full potential due to long waiting times, limited access to critical therapies. Those families that manage to secure private care face high costs and most simply cannot afford. Children like Tafida are being denied the chance to fight, the chance to live. This is not just a personal story. It is a nationwide crisis that demands attention. The Tafida Raqeeb Foundation, which I founded in the aftermath of our battle, is working towards establishing these type of neurological rehabilitation centers. These centers would not only bring world-class treatments to our shores, but would also provide families with hope that their children can still improve, still grow, still live. Today is an incredibly special day for our family. We mark a significant milestone. Today is actually 15th of October. It has been exactly 5 years since Tafida went to Italy. 5 years since we took a leap of faith in the hope of giving her a chance at life. And by God's grace, she has not only survived, but has also shown us the strength and resilience of her spirit. These 5 years have not been easy, but every single day has been a testament to Tafida's bravery and the power of love and hope and faith. When we look back at the journey we've been on it is impossible not to feel overwhelmed with gratitude. Tafida's survival is a reminder of how precious life is, and today we celebrate not just her life, but the love and unity that has kept us going through the darkest times. This journey has taught us to cherish every moment, to never lose hope, and to always believe in miracles. In addition to celebrating Tafida, I would take a moment to thank everyone who has played an important role in our journey. Baroness Finlay has been supporting this cause. She has worked tirelessly to advocate for change, pushing for improvements that will not only our family, but so many others in similar situations. Her dedication, passion, persistence has been a source of strength for us, and we are deeply grateful for her commitment. As many of you know, the government ordered a review of situations like ours, aiming to better understand the complex dynamics surrounding decisions on life-sustaining treatments and why parents clash with doctors. While the intention behind this review was commendable, the outcome was disappointing. It became clear that the review was one-sided, with the voices of doctors and medical professionals being heard far more than those parents. The perspective of families, those who are closest to the children, who fight every day for their lives, were largely overlooked. This is something that needs to change. We cannot allow the voice of parents to be drowned, especially when the stakes are as high as a child's life. We are calling for new reviews to be conducted, ones that truly listen to all sides, including parents and families, so that future decisions can be made with fairness, compassion, and understanding. As we look to the future, we know the road ahead will still have its challenges, but today we pause to celebrate how far Tafida has come. We celebrate her strength, her will to live, and the unwavering support of everyone who has been a part of this journey with us. Thank you for all being here today to mark this special moment. Tafida, we are so proud of you, and we will continue to walk this path together, filled with hope and love. I ask you today to join me in this mission. We need government support to ensure that every child, regardless of the prognosis, receive the rehabilitation, the care they deserve. We need a cultural shift in the way we approach critical care for children, moving away from a deficit mindset towards one of hope and possibility. My lords, I gave up everything to fight for Tafida's life. I implore you, please do not allow more families to face this fight alone. Let us all work together to ensure that every child has a chance to recover and that every parent's voice is heard. Our children deserve nothing less. Thank you, and I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Lord Speaker for attending today. and to everyone else who is here, and to the Bangladesh delegates, the Italian delegates who are here. And thank you for being here. I will quickly call our trustee, Mr. Jacob Lyons, who is here, who would want to just say 2 words in support of the foundation.
So, very, very briefly, because there's not an enormous amount I can add to such moving words. I think this should get support, and I think most sane, as I would put it, thinking human beings in this country and elsewhere would agree 100%. I got involved in this actually 3 or 4 years ago actually via another child, and we met through that case. And frankly, I just had, as a father of 4 children, had no idea whatsoever, as most people don't, what the situation is if you end up in that position. And I think I'm, like you, deeply religious, but I think apart from that, just as somebody that believes in sort of civil liberties and the right to make possibly the most important choice or choices you will ever make as a parent, this is something which should, and please God will, receive enormous support. I think the challenge for us is to see if we can make people aware of the issues without, unfortunately, it becoming a kind of flash issue where it gets a lot of coverage at any one particular point in time because of one or other child, but rather it becomes something that people are broadly aware of. As I said, I think that this will and should receive very, very widespread support, and this will obviously help the government to make the decisions that it needs to make. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we please have the next speaker, former Senator Simone Pillon, up on stage, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my lady, honorable members of parliament, authorities, Madam President of the Foundation, distinguished guests. I thank you for your invitation. It's an honor for me to speak in this parliament, which stands as one of the most significant temples of liberty in the world. Only a few meters from here, Thomas More and other martyrs were sentenced to death, defending the greatness of the values to which we are all called to adhere, values that precede human law. Among these non-negotiable principles, as they are inscribed in the natural law that each of us carries in our hearts, the protection of innocent life takes a paramount place, and foremost among these is the life of the child. I would therefore like to briefly outline the fundamental principles now recognized in international declarations that protects the most vulnerable among us, the children. Following this, I will share some impressions gathered by the Italian Parliamentary Commission during our official visit to the institution of the United Kingdom. And lastly, I will briefly outline the approach that Italian legislation purposes in relation to end-of-life matters, offering points of comparison with the legislation in the United Kingdom. Article 6 of the 1989 UN Convention enshrined the child's right to life. The preceding Article 5 of the same convention established the right of parents to make decisions for their child. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, solemnly proclaimed by the United Nations a few years after the devastation of the Second World War, established in Article 25 that everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and his family, including food and medical care and necessary social services, and the right of the security in the event of sickness and disability. The European Union also aimed to complement this body of rights by expressly providing in Article 5 of the 2002 European Charter of Patient Rights the right for the patient to obtain an authentic and reasoned second opinion, chosen according to their own feelings and autonomy, as well as the right to choose their physician and medical treatment. This is further supported by Article 10, which guarantees access to innovative diagnostic treatments without economic limitation. These principles are also reiterated in the Charter of Nice of 2001, which safeguard the right of life and the right of health, Article 2 and Article 35. Setting aside for a moment the Constitution of the European Union, I still consider it appropriate to mention the 1950 European Convention of Human Rights, particularly Article 2, protection of human life, and Article 8, the right to liberty and respect for family life. A particularly clear interpretation of these rights is provided in a very recent decision of the European Court of Human Rights, is Daniel Karzai versus Hungary, which states that there is no right to die, but rather a right to be cared for, and that civil society has the corresponding duty to guarantee appropriate care for every situation and pathology, avoiding both therapeutic obstinacy on one side and on the other hand therapeutic and care abandonment. In 2021, as Vice President of the Italian Parliamentary Commission of Childhood and Adolescence, I had the opportunity to lead an official visit to the corresponding British institutions. During this visit, particularly in meetings with the President of CAFCAS, and I'm happy that Shelina mentioned about it, we were able to observe the ways in which English law ensures the protection and guardianship of children in difficult situations, as well as the provision of the social services system and the functioning of family courts. The impressions I share today are not mine alone, but were shared by all participants in the mission, representing the full spectrum of political perspective in Italian Parliament, from right to left. The overall impression was one of great efficiency in one hand, but perhaps not enough attention to the parental figures and their roles and their will on the other. In other words, we could not help but notice that very often the procedures gave little consideration to the wishes of the parents, instead emphasizing the will of guardians, curators, and social workers appointed by the court. This has led, quite evidently, to a situation where the number of minors placed outside the natural family is 10 times higher than in Italy. I'm unable to say whether this is a legislative issue or more generally a matter of social sensibility, but certainly from an external perspective, and particularly from a family perspective, this aspect may merit further investigation. I specifically refer to the precedence of parents' decision in matters of religion and philosophy, and which risk being circumvented when the appointment of a guardian becomes automatic in any case involving a child. I humbly share those considerations. I don't want to lecture anybody, but as a lawyer, I have personally followed several international cases where life-sustaining treatments for children with severe condition were withdrawn. In these cases, I could not fail to notice that while the UK courts showed great care in avoiding unnecessary suffering for the young patient, this often resulted in the death of the young patient. Maybe you remember the sad story of Indy Gregory, the court ordered the withdrawal of all life support, and she died, even though an Italian hospital had offered to take care of her, and despite the Italian government granting her Italian citizenship. This was a sad case of institutional conflict between courts and medical system and governments, of course. In my view, this somewhat contradicts both the spirit and the letter of the convention I have just mentioned, and it may also have intrusive effects on the religious freedom and conscience of the children, their parents, and their families. This is a narrow way, and it is certainly not easy to find a permanent balance, so I am not here to pass judgment or offer simple solutions. Now it seems that something is changing. In May 2024, the medical staff of the Bristol Hospital proposed the withdrawal of life support for a very little baby with cardiac disease. Parents asked for a second opinion. An Italian hospital suggested a surgery. Without any court involvement, agreement was reached between the Bristol Royal Hospital for Children and the Bambino Gesù Hospital in Rome. An ambulance and medical staff from the Italian hospital were carried on a military craft of the Italian Air Force and are airlifted to Bristol, where they collected the little baby and his parents and then flew back to Rome. The transport was done in complete safety. I believe this could be the right path to follow. The Times in May 2024 titled, "We cannot say no, hospital that takes on hopeless cases," where the London newspaper gave significant space to the Italian perspective. More recently, another story is shaking our conscience. Mr. Justice Poole, only a few days ago, acknowledged that the child whose life support he had ordered to be removed is still alive today. This is a highly unusual case and raises some uncomfortable questions about the serves and open and objective answers, said Judge Nigel Poole, after having anxiously reflected on his earlier judgment and reaching the conclusion that it was justified based on the evidence provided by the hospital and the family lawyers, who were unable to point to another reported case where a child had survived for months after life supports had been withdrawn following a court decision. In this spirit, I humbly and respectfully offer for your consideration a few points of reflection. I believe the institution of appointing a special guardian in cases such as this should be reconsidered, as the will of the parents, especially at such delicate moments, cannot be forcefully overridden or disregarded by a public official, no matter how sensitive. We must consider that medicine is not an exact science, as already mentioned by Shalina. It is constantly evolving, and new scientific discoveries can offer treatments in situations that previously seemed incurable. We should perhaps also re-evaluate the very concept of palliative care. As many of you know, the word palliative derived from the Latin word pallium, meaning cloak, and it refers to many medieval paintings in which cities are illustrated under the protective cloak of a saint, indicating not only their faith in eternal life, but also their practical concern for the protection and safety of the city's present life. Disconnecting life-sustaining machines and administering morphine to the patient cannot be considered palliative care. Such a procedure has more in common with euthanasia than with true palliative care. Palliative care, as defined in Italy by Article 2 of Law 38/2010, must consist of the set of therapeutic, diagnostic and care interventions aimed at both the patient and their family, dedicated to the active and comprehensive care of patients whose underlying illness, and also about pain therapy, the set of diagnostic and therapeutic intervention aimed to identifying and applying suitable pharmacological, surgical, instrumental, psychological, and rehabilitative treatment. Rehabilitation is the key. On final point, if I may, concern that freedom of care, codified in the aforementioned Article 5 of the European Charter of Patient Rights, the international cooperation could be the right answer. Once the safety of transport has been ensured, as occurred in the case of the child from Bristol, I believe that no one should be denied the possibility of transferring their child or being transferred themselves to another hospital, whether in their home country or abroad, if they have requested it and have obtained the necessary arrangements. It was possible once, thanks to the cooperation of medical authorities in Bristol and Rome, and thanks to the governments of both countries. And I hope it will be possible every time it is necessary in the future. In conclusion, my lady and distinguished guests, I believe we are all taking steps in the right direction by ensuring the freedom of choice for parents regarding the care of their children, guaranteeing for everyone the opportunity to choose where to be treated, and upholding the primary and inalienable right to life without ever making it a matter of cost, of money. This very meeting, it is a testament to the great capacity for attention and cooperation between our countries, both in legal and medical matters, while not forgetting the fundamental importance of politics and international cooperation, of which we ourselves, I believe, are an excellent example today. Tafida, her mother, her father, with their shining witness to life, are living proof that it is always worth caring for the smallest among us. And we do remember that somebody very, very important said, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it for me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm a barrister who's been very privileged to have helped a number of families who found themselves in the position that Shalina was in, and I was also a barrister representing Shalina and her husband in the successful case which ensured that Tafida had a chance to live. I've been asked to look at some of the UK legal and policy challenges in the care of critical children, but I've also been asked to keep my remarks short. So I'm going to very, very briefly look at why these cases come to court. It's very important if we're to see how things could be reformed. We have to understand why they're happening as they are. And then I want to very quickly look at some of the issues which we've come up against again and again in these cases, things which aren't working. These cases involving the withdrawal of life-sustaining treatment from severely ill children, one sees the best parts of the UK legal system. One sees a great efficiency and all stops pulled out, but one also sees, in some respects, the worst side, because one sees law and principle often set aside in place of pragmatism. Up until the advent of the Human Rights Act, doctors tended to make decisions themselves. This all quickly came challenged in 1999 with an important case of a child called David Glass. And David Glass was an ill child. He had neurological issues, and the doctors didn't think he had very much of a life left, and it was very likely he was going to die. And they proposed to fill him up with morphine, and this is something the parents didn't want, because that would have led to his death very quickly. And an incredible story then happened with a big fight in the hospital with the parents and the mother and her brothers fighting the doctors and saving the child's life, ripping out the morphine pump from the child, resuscitating him. The uncles got prosecuted and convicted, but the case then went before the courts because they were trying to sort out what should happen next. And the English court said, look, we're not getting involved, essentially. But the European Court of Human Rights did get involved. And it said that where these conflicts happen, hospitals have to go to court. They can't decide on their own that they're not going to treat the child or that they're going to fill the child up with morphine without the parental consent. And what we've got here is a conflict, and this is what's underlies all these cases, a conflict of two fundamental principles of medical law. One is that doctors cannot treat people without consent from someone. Usually it's the patient themselves, but in the case of a child, it has to be someone else who's providing that consent. And secondly, that doctors can't be forced to act contrary to their own professional judgment. No court is going to say to a doctor, you have to provide that treatment to that child or to that person. So this is the difficulty that's occurring in these cases. And what we've seen is cases which are forced to go to court because of the case of Glass now obliges them to go to court. But realistically, the courts are not left with any option in most cases, not really left with an alternative. They're fully aware that the doctors don't want to treat this child, and the parents want treatment to go ahead. And so what are the courts to do? They can't order the doctors to do anything. The medical evidence is all going one way. And so they inevitably and invariably order that treatment is withdrawn. But what has happened there have been a number of significant cases, which I won't go into because I don't have time, but starting with the extraordinary case of Ashia King in 2014, where the parents took their child away from the hospital to have him treated at a hospital which was able to provide, in another country, much better treatment than the UK had at the time. And they found themselves arrested, European arrest warrants, they were hauled back to the United Kingdom, and things were, in that case, resolved behind the scenes. We then fast forward a few years, and we had the case of Charlie Gard, which many people remember. Again, a hospital prepared to treat, the UK not prepared to treat. Why was this? Because here we've suddenly got a different dynamic. We haven't got a situation where doctors are being forced to treat the child and there isn't an alternative. We suddenly do have an alternative. But in a way, I think the courts were trapped in a mindset which existed before people were exploring alternatives. But they were also trapped by the provisions of Section 1.1 of the Children Act, which says that in all cases involving welfare of a child, the courts have to, the upbringing of a child, I should say, the courts have to make the welfare the paramount consideration. And what you've seen happen is we've had a notion which has been very difficult to shake and is only now slightly beginning to be questioned. And I think Tafida's case was the first time I've seen where a judge has really grappled with the issue, where you've got a difference of opinion as to what constitutes welfare, in as much as different people have different opinions as to what constitutes dignity, as to what values they give to life. For some people, and it wasn't an issue in Tafida's case, but for some people living in a life of pain in a hospital bed is one which they wouldn't want. But for other people, it's a life they'd give value to. And the courts were finding a difficulty because in cases involving children, they couldn't ask the child, what would you like? And so they were importing a sort of rather well-meaning paternalistic approach where they would decide in a totally secular way what was the best interest of the child. And that invariably was minimizing pain, as Senator Pallon observed from the cases that he'd been following. and it wasn't really taking on board other values that other people may have. And this has come in for criticism. The United Nations Committee for the Rights of People with Disabilities has singled out the United Kingdom and this is an ongoing matter. We've got a case before the committee now, which is considering precisely this problem, where what the courts, even if they say they're not doing it, they're effectively importing what's known as an objective best interest analysis. That's one that doesn't take account of the subjective wishes of the patient or of the patient's family, including religious wishes, but not only. And this is one of the problems we've got now. And Senator Pallon highlighted some of the other international instruments which show that space has to be given to parental wishes. This is recognized in international law. And a great primacy has to be also given to the value to the sanctity of life principle. We've seen there that the Convention on the Rights of the Child says that the state has to do everything it can to ensure that someone will live. Well, everything it can, how can that involve withdrawing life, sustaining treatment? I don't know how that's reconcilable. Now, there's no way that any individual can vindicate those rights, unfortunately, in the court, because that convention hasn't been incorporated yet into the law in this country. But at the moment, there seems to be a contradiction. So just very, very quickly, I just wanted to outline some of the problems that we've faced in courts. One is that the parents find. One is masses of medical evidence, which is provided to the parents often at the very last moment or even after the litigation started. That's unacceptable. And what's important is a dialogue which precedes any cases going to court, and hopefully things can be resolved without cases going to court. I know Baroness Finlay has been a great proponent of mediation, and this is something that in other areas of law has become mandatory. One of the advantages of having compulsory mediation is that before the mediation, the parents would have access to all the medical records and be able to take advice from their own medical advisors so that they could come to their own assessment of what's really happening and whether or not they accept what the hospital is telling them. The second problem that I've seen is come across repeatedly is because legal proceedings go at such a fast pace, it's very difficult to get legal representation for many parents. And if they do manage to get legal representation, it's very difficult for those parents to be able to deal with the matters properly. Where this sanctity of life principle is at stake, I submit that the unseemly haste which the law itself requires, again in section 1.2 of the Children's Act, that matters are dealt with quickly, but it is inappropriate in these cases. The third problem we've seen is this united front of medical evidence, which is not realistically possible for any parents to challenge, and that's to do with the laws of evidence. It's a very curious situation, totally unacceptable. A hospital brings a case before the court, they're allowed to put all the evidence they want before the court, and the court has to accept it. The parent then has to get permission to be able to put any evidence in, and that permission is subject to very stringent rules of expert evidence. And in many cases, we don't get any permission to put any evidence in. Yet the doctor's evidence that's gone in is treated as expert evidence, even though it isn't expert evidence. And there simply isn't any sort of level playing field. Fourth issue is anonymity of the doctors before the courts. Now, this wasn't something that happened, if you look at the old law reports, doctors were routinely named. Doctors have now started getting very worried because of media attention in these cases. But the problem with anonymous evidence in courts is that the people who give that anonymous evidence are not accountable to their peers for that evidence. And I've seen too many cases of dishonest evidence being given in courts, and there's just simply, they know they'll get away with it because no one's going to be able to challenge what those doctors have said. The case for anonymity, there's a case now before the Supreme Court, and we're waiting for judgment in that, and that may change the sort of anonymity which doctors will be entitled to in these cases. But it's a very serious issue to do with transparency of justice. Fifth issue's been dealt with, and I don't propose to say anything about the children's guardian, except to say that I haven't seen cases of children's guardians in these cases commissioning their own evidence, trying to get other doctors or other hospitals to see if there are alternative treatments. They do a perfunctory job at best. And I do agree with the criticisms which have been made so far that whatever important role CAFCAS has in other types of proceedings involving children, it simply is not equipped to deal with these matters in children's proceedings. And the courts end up giving too much deference to reports prepared by CAFCAS. The final point I dealt with was this issue of the paramountcy principle. We need to reinterpret that. It may be necessary to amend the Children Act. One of the important differences in international law and the UK law is that the UK law says that the welfare of the child is the paramount consideration. And if you look at all the international instruments, it's a primary consideration. It means that we can consider other issues as well. We don't have to be forced into considering welfare, still less under the subjective optic as the only criterion which applies in these cases. So I leave it at that. I'm mindful that I've been asked to be hasty in my presentation, but as you can imagine, this has barely scratched the surface of the legal and policy challenges which are involved. Thank you.
Can I please now call Mr. Naeem Khan, President of Private Hospital and Medical College Association in Bangladesh, to say a few words about how things are done in Bangladesh, a developing country.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Shalina. I am very much delighted to be here. It is an honor to be part of this distinguished gathering. Bangladesh, as a developing nation, is making remarkable progress in the health sector. I congratulate to Tafida Foundation. This year early, they went to a big delegation, 50 doctors delegation in Bangladesh, and week-long they provide service to less fortunate people. And they did complicated operations, and they provide training to local doctors. So it's a novel initiative, and a lot of less fortunate people get the tremendous service. I must emphasize that in Bangladesh, we firmly uphold the principle that life is sacred. Both medical professionals and families are not permitted to withdraw life-sustaining care. Even in critical conditions, we believe that death must occur naturally, caused only by the progression of the illness without any human intervention to hasten it. Our commitment is to ensure care and dignity until the very end of life, respecting the natural process. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you've been extremely good standing as well, because it's quite hard to stand for the time, but thank you. I think that I'm sure many of you will want to talk to Shalina, and we should close now. If you want a further cup of tea or whatever, please do. There are leaflets on the tables. Shalina's here, and I think we have to thank you for being an absolutely inspirational mother, and all that you've done, and the things that you've done behind this to draw attention to issues that are of great importance. Shalina,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you.
one with this, then one with my camera, please. Okay, hold that for me. Oops, do one more. Please. And one more if you may. She just jumped in. Okay, hold that. Looking at me. Thank you very much. Okay, love. Looking at me. Okay, hold that for me. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for attending this event.
Design here. What's our favourite? Oh, do you need more bread? Thank you. Was that fish or shrimp?
That's not my taste. That is fish.
One and only, very special one. She's celebrating her birthday. Okay, so alhamdulillah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday today. He's invented a day. He's invented He's just making out.
When was it? To everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You just high face it then.
Lift your flap up.
Doc.
Tell me I would have brought my gloves with me.
If you stood there, then myself, Shalina, and
Ladies, recorders that ask Sidra.
Ibn Bhai. Ibn Bhai. Ibn Bhai.
Giuseppe? Dua.
Okay, yeah. अच्छा ওই আপনি একটু আলগা প্লিজ এটা গতকালকে আপনি নোটসও দিবেন কথা আছে কালকে ডেলিভারি আইছে আপনি যাওয়ার বাদে Shall I move this table?
No, it's okay.
Wonderful picture. Take one from that one. Take one. Keep doing that. It's free of course, so don't worry about it. Just continue here.
Pasture. Pasture, do you want to go over there?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Babi, come on. Okay, thank you. Babi, help her.
Sorry, excuse me.
Take the pictures as with your
Okay,
that camera. Set on the pictures.
To receive our sheikh from our sheikh.
আপনি একটা
আরে আপনি আমার পাশে আরে আপনারা তো সাউন্ড আপনারা ডিস্টার্ব করেন না ওই তো দুলা ভাই এই তাইলে আমারটা একটু মানে can you take from my photo ও না
শেয়ার করে দিবেন শেয়ার করে দিবেন